Last year, when Encanto came out, I thought to myself, damn, I don't think there will be another good animated movie until Spider-Verse. But I'm glad that I was proven wrong, because when Turning Red came out, I was like, oh shit, that was great too. Disney's starting to give a fuck again, or at least are giving a platform to creators that want to express themselves. I think both films are great at what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, but I do think that one, in my opinion, is a better film. I guess the best way for me to explain my thoughts is to start at the beginning.
In the beginning.
So in 2021, Encanto came out, right? And I was honestly expecting the movie to be at best okay. I saw the trailers and it seemed like a basic story of self-love with some mystical elements. So I was pleasantly surprised at the fact that it was better than okay. The musical numbers were great, the voice acting was way better and more realistic than most modern Disney movies, and the film has a voice and character of its own. It's not without its flaws, but I can definitely look over them due to how original the movie feels. Fast forward to 2022 when Disney/Pixar released Turning Red. Before I continue, I just want to say that I will never forgive Disney for not letting Turning Red have a theatrical release, because it definitely needed one, especially during the concert scenes. The energy this movie has is intoxicating in a good way. I think I'm in the minority when I say that I love the introduction to the film. The flow and energy it brings is amazing, putting you in the main character's head on how hectic it feels to juggle everything at that age. I also fucking love the soundtrack. Not only the Four Town songs, but the actual OST. The musical motifs in the film are subtle but visible enough to recognize. On top of that, the story is very loose yet tight and never loses sight of what the film is about and trying to do/say. I think at this point you probably already know which of the two I think is the better film, but in case you haven't figured it out, it's gonna be me. I want to reiterate that both films are great at what they try to accomplish. I am highly aware that this is my own opinion. That being said, I do want to try and at least back up my opinion. As much as I like Encanto, I think it definitely drags at points, especially the whole sequence where Mirabel goes to get the vision. On the other hand, I think that Turning Red uses its time more wisely and doesn't drag. Every sequence feels just long enough and the pace of the film is great. I also think that it's very low stakes, which makes it a little bit easier to relate to than Encanto does. While both films are cheesy and overall inoffensive, I think that Turning Red does take more risks than Encanto. In Encanto, there's no new ground being broken and it plays it safe. I mean, the most they did was have a grandma gaslighting and screaming. In Turning Red, however, it feels like they took more of a chance in showing the awkward sides of being a teen, well, a tween/girl.
Don't look at the notebook, don't look at the notebook, don't!
On top of that, I don't think there has ever been an animated movie where they openly talked about the start of a girl's period, and I think that they did it perfectly. It wasn't a sex ed class, and it didn't dumb it down either. It feels very genuine, which brings me to my next point. Turning Red does feel more realistic than Encanto. Sure, both of them have mystical aspects and dumb movie moments, but I feel like Turning Red handles it better. I think that Turning Red follows its logic. You don't have much questions about how the panda shit works, and the characters act like real people and not people in movies. Well, for the most part at least. In Encanto, at times I felt like there were a couple of inconsistencies with the actual Encanto and overall gifts. I feel like they over-explain in the beginning, but at the same time they still leave the audience with more questions than answers, I guess. The characters at times act more like caricatures of what they represent instead of being actual characters. Since I'm already shitting on Encanto, I might as well ramble about it for a little bit more. Let me start by going back to my statement of the movie over-explaining. I feel like that opening scene was added later on due to some guy saying, I don't think people will get it, I think we need to explain it to them. The thing is that once you explain it, it seems more silly than saying, hey, there's a candle we got, and then later on explaining the backstory throughout the movie, which they actually do at the end of it, so why have it in the beginning if you're already going to explain it in the movie later on? I also feel like if they took that part of the movie, it would have had the energy Turning Red did of jumping right into it in the beginning. I also want to talk about Mirabel because holy shit does this movie fucking hate her. Not only did she not get a gift, her grandma resents her, her parents don't do shit, everybody clowns on her, and she almost dies like twice. I would have forgiven the movie if at the end everybody stayed giftless and they needed to find their own gift instead of a gift that was given to them, but no, Disney just couldn't control themselves and gave them their gifts back, and Mirabel still stays giftless. Like, what the fuck is that? I know that the whole journey of the fucking, like, you know, the point of her journey is that she needs to love herself and not care, but I mean, it's still fucked up. It's like, I don't know, there's like a barrier there, you know? There's still a big difference between Mirabel and her, the rest of the family. They all had gifts except her at the end. It's still the same, I don't know. Maybe at this point I'm just overthinking it, but Encanto had a somewhat bad beginning, a boring middle, and a pretty bad ending. But it had a killer soundtrack with some heartfelt moments here and there, but I guess just with rewatching it a couple of times, it just doesn't stick as much as maybe other Disney movies, or any other movie for that matter. I think that both movies are pretty metaphorical in that Encanto is about destructive families and Turning Red is about puberty. I think that both movies don't hide their meaning, like it doesn't take a genius to tell you what the two movies are actually talking about, but I think that Turning Red is more nuanced. I think in Encanto, the characters and their meanings and the themes were kind of spelled out for the audience, while in Turning Red it's a bit more subjective. Like even the title can be subjective. It can mean like the feeling of embarrassment as well as a hint to girls and their periods, maybe both. And I think this carries into the movie where it's so open and people can latch on to a lot of things more than just relating to tweens. It's about moms and hardships with family members, backgrounds, breaking the link or breaking the cycle, finding out like you love your friends more than your family, finding independence. There's a lot more than just dealing with family members. I know Encanto is more deeper than that, but I guess I just had a better time with Turning Red. Again, it's just my own opinion. And going back to which one is the better one, I again would say Turning Red, but everybody has their own opinions, I guess.